let them have ownership and agency in part of in the classroom because it is their classroom. The parents don't come to see me, they come to see their kid. So I really try to keep it where they are as active and as involved as possible without me having to without giving walking away totally. And I still am in charge because always, we always have to be the one in charge. And I still always very much, this is the way we're going to do it. But I do allow them to do it in a different way than maybe I think it should be.
Welcome to Pass the Baton, empowering students in music education. Here, we amplify the voices of music teachers around the world who are passing the baton and creating environments where the music students are empowered. Together, we can help students transform from passive consumers to vibrant creatives. Welcome back to the Pass the Baton podcast. I'm Kathryn Finch.
And I'm Theresa Hoover. We're glad to be back with you today. So, Kathryn, I had the opportunity to meet this guest that we had on today back at Midwest. She was talking, and it was just a great conversation. And I knew from that I wanted to be able to talk to her more. So, what did you think about Corie? This is your first time meeting her.
Yeah, Corie, I love what she said about like just how much it matters, how much it involves in the teacher, like the power of being the teacher and the power of having kind of the control of, not control, but just like you have that connection with kids and you can help make their day and help turn, I don't know, just kind of connect with them and how important that is to remember your responsibility of that.
Absolutely. Like we really do set the mood for the classroom, set the tone for the classroom. And she talked about that a lot. I also appreciated how much she thought about the students as people and humans.
Yes.
And obviously the music's important. You could tell that the music was important to her, but the people in her classroom were really the focus.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just took the time to do warm-ups or listening to music that they liked or listening to music that she wanted them to, be able to hear different performers. But like she kind of took that time to do those things before they had rehearsals. And that kind of builds that community piece.
Yes. Yes. You could see that there was a really strong community within the classroom. That was huge. Yeah. So yeah, it was really good talking to her. Before we get to today's interview, if you're ready to make powerful shifts towards student-centered teaching, explore the Pass the Baton Coffee Club. Members get an exclusive deeper dive audio extra and a Reflect and Act PDF download after every episode, plus access to our full resource library.
For more personal support, our premium tier offers direct access to Kathryn and Theresa in a private Voxer group. Visit buymeacoffee.com/passthebaton to learn more and join.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We are excited to be joined today with Corie Benton. Hi, Corie. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to see you speak at Midwest this year, and we were saying before, after your talk, I was like, oh, we need to hear more. We need to hear more about what's going on in her classroom. So I'm glad we were able to catch up and make this work.
Thank you. That was my first time ever being at Midwest, and it was just awe-inspiring to be around that many educators. It reminded me of my first time going to an ASTA conference. I was just like, and the sheer size of the building itself. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
That's great. Good. Well, before we get into it too much, could you introduce yourself first and tell us about your background and your role in music education?
Okay, yes, Corie Benton. I live here in Georgia. I am originally from Louisiana. I'm a violist. Woohoo, violist. I've been playing forever, just like everyone else, but my education, I'm one of those weird kids that knew she wanted to be a teacher from when she was a kid. So I played teacher when I was a kid. I come from a family, not necessarily, my mother was an educator, but within my family, other relatives, I come from a family of educators. So when I was a kid, I played teacher. And I thought I was going to go to be a lawyer one day. And I was like, no, not for me. And so decided that, music education that's for me, where it's at for me. Ended up going to college in New Orleans. I went to college at Loyola University in New Orleans. And then from there, graduated, moved to Texas, and I taught in a county, taught middle school in a county right outside of Dallas suburb called Plato, Texas. I was there for about 4 years and then ended up moving to Georgia and have taught both high school and middle school. And currently, although I'm in year 30 of teaching, I'm not in year 30 of teaching in Georgia, which does make a difference in retirement. Uh, so I've been teaching, I teach at a high school. That's my favorite level. That's my favorite
Yeah.
level. And I'm also president. I've been state chapter president for ASTA, and I am currently the president-elect of ASTA as well.
Oh, wonderful. Well, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Well, some of the things that you were talking about when we heard your presentation at Midwest had to do with really thinking about the needs of the students. We're like, yes, yes, we have to think about the students first. That's so important. So I guess could you talk a little bit about how do you think about your orchestra in a student-centered way, and how do you respond to all these diverse students and interests and all the different needs and things like that of the students we have today?
I don't know if you guys remember when you first started teaching, you had to put an objective where your objective was, right?
Mhm.
And my objective in teaching was to always give a holistic approach of teaching to kids. And so that was what I truly believed in. And then, as I've taught, I still have always thought that, but then sometimes we get away from the student-centered part of it. And it's like, okay, I got to play for this. And we've got to make sure we get this accolade, and we got to make sure we do this thing. We got to get this rating. And although I've always loved teaching and interacting with my kids and creating music, that had taken a little at some point in my career that was important. It became a little bit more important. And I realized that was not for them, that's for me.
Mm.
And so a little, I would say a few years, maybe like 2 years before the pandemic, that's when it started to like, I'd been teaching and I'd been getting better just dealing with the different type of kids that I've taught and the different economic backgrounds the kids of the schools I've been in. And so that definitely has always been, I've always been about making sure the kids enjoy what they want to do. So I never got away from that, but I think it became the most important part of what I do every day, probably around like 2018 and 2017, 2018. And it was about the experience because whether or not my students continue to play, it's always been important for me that they are supporters of what we do. They're going to go to see the symphonies. They're going to go to the festivals. They're going to, if they don't continue to play, they're going to have their kids in lessons or playing at camps or something that continues the cycle of music education in some form or the other or supporting the arts. So I think around 2018, it was like, okay, I do love this, but am I doing what's best for my kids all the time? So I really started doing more student-centered things. And it became, that's the most important. And then the pandemic hit. And we all needed way more love than we thought we needed. We thought like, and all that stuff was like, oh, who cares about all of that? Let me take care of you. And that's the most important for me. I think now moving past that, um, it shook me. It's like this is it. It's super important. This is why you do this. What is my purpose? So it kind of goes back to that. What was my goal? My goal was always to give kids a holistic education, and that is not. It was through music, it's through string education, but it's not only string education. So we've all talked about you had to be the mom and the counselor and the this and that, and I do believe that is what I do as a teacher. I am all of those hats. Uh, I don't know if I answered all of the question. I think I answered.
No. Yeah, no, but I think that brings to me to like the next question of like, what does that look like in your
Mhm.
classroom, you know?
Probably like most people, most classrooms, we do orchestra council, and that is the idea of the teacher before me. So shout out to him for establishing that. But we have an orchestra council. Every class has an orchestra council. In my groups, I have four different levels, and so the orchestra council is in charge of doing a student of the month, creating activities for certain days. So having them vested in the classroom so that it's part of the experience of high schools. When you look back on high school, what were your important memories? Orchestra should be one of those memories to me. Creating activities and leadership opportunities for the kids. I do let them have some say in the music, we do talk about, we play music, we listen to music every day when they come in. There's something playing, there's some kind of video playing, and it's mostly not classical. So that's how I kind of expose them to the different types of genres of music out there through strings. So they get to hear like a sister strings, or they get to hear string queens, or they get to hear an archi, or they get to hear um, that viola kid, or just different performers. I play those videos, and then they also get to make requests. So I am the adult in the room, and I am the final say, but I'm not the only say. And that's really important for them. And I allow, even if I don't agree with it, you kind of like that desk, convince me. How do we do this? So I let them have ownership and agency in part of in the classroom, because it is their classroom. The parents don't come to see me, they come to see their kid. So I really try to keep it where they are as active and as involved as possible without me having to without giving walking away totally. And I still am in charge, because always, we always have to be the one in charge. And I still always very much, this is the way we're going to do it. But I do allow them to do it in a different way than maybe I think it should be.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's so important because, I mean, yes, we are the adult. We're the ones receiving the paycheck. We're the ones, who have fully formed brain, all of those things. But they need to feel like they're part of something, and they need to feel like
Correct.
it's meaningful to them. And I think too often I know when I was a young teacher, it was very much like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Sit down and let's go. Right.
Yes.
And that without, as a young teacher, that to me was teaching. And then it was actually kind of a similar time frame as you. I think it was like 2016, 2017, where I started realizing, like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
this isn't working for everybody. And this isn't, some kids it was still great, but not all of them. So
Right.
yeah. And when what did you find when you started making those changes and kind of shifting your own mindset? How did you see a change in your students?
I saw it in they were vested, but I will be honest, in I guess more selfish answers, I saw it that I've always enjoyed it, but it wasn't, even though it was structured, but it wasn't so strict, and I had fun. And so I know that I could have like I have a little a vibe setting energy sometimes, and if I'm having fun, they're having fun. If
Mhm.
I'm being
Yeah.
silly, the ones who like to be silly are allowed to be silly. So I just modeling, I think it was more so I felt it, and I started noticing it after I felt it. I'm sure it was happening. I didn't see it in the big group. I could see it in little, like the kids who were starting to open up that normally would sit back and do nothing, or the kid who was always talking, 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 sat back and allowed the kid who wasn't to have some space. So I just kind of saw it in the group, in the class dynamic. And then as they graduate, they're coming back and they're like, hey, can we come in this, or da da da
Cool.
da. Or if I forget something, it's like, no, remember we have to do this. And I'm like, okay, okay.
Mhm.
So those kinds of things, setting up traditions in our class. And I saw it first before I saw it in me first, and not before I start seeing it in them.
Yeah. Something I just hear you saying too is like, I think as music educators, we only see them so often. And I mean, I was taught, I'm in year like 25 or so. And again, so I was taught like, go, 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 go. You only have this much time and you've got to just do all the things. And like, that's really that just that environment of like doing everything because every minute counts. It's important. But I'm kind of hearing you say you kind of slowed down, not like with all doing lots of things, but just taking a beat to just be like, we are here, I'm present, I'm with them, and just listening to what they need and not just being so driven with um the amount of minutes we have with them. I think sometimes we just get so focused on that.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
it
we were all at that stage where the teachers that we had in the past, that was what we saw. So we
yeah,
mimic what we saw. And the kids we teach are not the kids that we were.
yeah,
And it makes a difference.
yeah.
Makes a difference. We have to adjust, or we will not be in there. I think if you don't adjust, you will no longer be teaching. You have to find something different to do.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's something I've always believed. We can't just continue doing the things as we've always done them, because we're just going to be so far behind in this and not meeting the needs of the kids. Because
Correct.
yeah,
I
like you
agree.
said, they're not like us. And I'll talk to the when I'm working with like pre-service teachers, and say, you are kind of the oddball in that you chose to go on and be a musician as a profession, whereas most of your classmates in high school orchestra or band or whatever, they likely didn't keep it as a profession. How do we reach those students, right? How do we make sure that they're having just as good of an experience as those who will go on professionally in music?
Yeah, yeah. It's I have had every day, we all know every day is not roses. And there's some days I question, am I doing the right thing? Is this not necessarily professionally, but in that moment, is this event the right event? Did I make the right decision?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you second guess. You do second guess the decisions that you
Absolutely.
make. But I've learned for me, it's important to stay, if I, whatever the goal is, I'm a goal setter.
Mm.
And so I set, at the beginning of the school year, I set the goals. These are things I want to achieve. I do it for the school year. I usually have either a word or a phrase that is the theme for the year. And I
Mm.
just tell the kids, but it's really for me. And the kids and I will talk about what we want to, these are the things we want to achieve this year. And I understand that everyone's not like that. That is not how everyone's brain is wired.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also do goals per month. And if I stay focused on that goal, then all those little squirrel moments, the offshoots, I can eliminate those and kind of like, okay, long as I stay stead in what I said I was going to do, then this will be
Yeah.
successful at the end of the year. And I may not notice it until the end of the year, school year, or the next school year, but that has been successful for me in my teaching.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about how the students have some say in the repertoire, and you were just saying that you talk about the goal setting things with them as well. Are there any other examples how about students have like a voice or choice, like concrete examples in the classroom, or either like rehearsals, performances, anything like that?
Yes, we do. For the seniors, every year we have senior solos.
Oh.
Seniors are allowed to play a solo if they like, and then sometimes, unfortunately, we've had like 25 solos. Yes, um, but it
That's
is
awesome.
and something, and there is. I don't push them to do it, but I do encourage them to do it. And
Yeah.
there's no particular type of solo that they can play. They can play literally anything they want.
That's
And
awesome.
side note, the grateful part is that some of them will arrange their own music.
Oh.
They will, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. One student wrote his own piece. It's a gamut of genres.
Yeah.
It's not all pop, it's not all classical. It's just whatever they want to play. And then we play behind them if it's something that we can accompany them as an
Hmm.
orchestra, or if it's a pianist accompanist with them, either that way. So singer solos, and they look forward to it.
Oh, I'm sure.
There have been some years like, well, maybe not. They're like, no, we got to do it. So, um, senior solos, we do that. Like I said, I have an orchestra council, and they have duties. So the president reads the daily announcements. During the concerts, one of the officers, who's our historian, speaks at the concerts. I try not to speak as much as possible. I have to sometimes, but
Yeah.
I speak as little as possible. So it's run by the kids. The format is that this is we're going to do da 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 da. This person will speak here. This person will speak there. Then so they know they have this role. Um, they're also someone who creates the programs, the graphic art for the programs if they want, or the
Hmm.
format. Excuse me. They take the attendance at the concert, and then we're making sure everyone gets the information. So though the council does that, as far as if their kids are not on the council, we have days where we do certain. I'm a game person, so I do
Oh.
believe in playing games in class, and I make sure the leaders in the class. Our leaders in the games are those that feel comfortable. I will ask them, like, do you feel comfortable doing this? They're like, yeah. So they're the people who are in charge, who are not normally, again, not the loudest voice
Mhm.
and the competition. Oh gosh. Um, um, we've been doing something, partnering with our Transitions Academy, which are the Transitions Academy in our school, the kids that don't get to be mainstreamed. So we
Mhm.
do partnerships with them, and some of the kids are teachers.
Oh.
Uh, and it really is dependent upon what they can do. If they can hold the instrument, we teach them the basics of how to hold an instrument. Just pull the strings and put your finger here. If they can't this year, oh my goodness, I've never had kids do this. We had a whole bunch of cardboard and they created cardboard instruments. So we
Mhm.
have 20 to 30 cardboard cellos and basses, and the transitions kids got to do the artwork for them. So, I allow the kids to, when it comes to the songs, I'll give them opportunities. These are the songs that I'm thinking about. Da 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 da. If it's at a song, on a last concert, if they want to play a song that I don't have music for, find the music. It has to be this, this is the criteria,
Mhm.
and they will print out the parts. They'll bring it. They bring
Very
gigs.
good.
They can play at any kind of thing, any kind of thing we're asked to play for. Um, they bring ideas on we when games we could start our class off with. We generally start off with a video, but sometimes we start it off with Wordle. Sometimes we
Fun.
do Wordles, and before that's how we start the class. We have had kids lead us in stretches, literally
Mhm.
physical stretches,
Yeah.
just different things to be interactive. So I try to engage them because this is their class, as this is their program.
Mhm.
And so I want them to take ownership of it. I want them to feel comfortable being it. It is a safe space. They also know that I am Mama Bear. And so if someone comes into our space and they do not eh, protect the sanctity of our space, then I am going to remove them from that space. So, I don't know if there's just, I try to give them as much autonomy as they can and have that, they're able to come in during rehearsal time. I don't let them take over rehearsals, but they do warm ups
Okay.
every day. A different person leads the warm up,
Mhm.
but they don't sign up. I usually volunteer them myself or volunteer. Like, okay, and it's a routine. We play these scales or we're going to play these rhythms. All right, today, Teresa, you're going to lead this warm up. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to, I'll go over it with them. Like I'm there in case they're not comfortable. So, okay, you're going to do this, da da da. So it's supporting them, but also showing the other kids when it's your turn, this is what I want you to do. So,
Mhm.
There were so many things that you were talking about that I was just like, oh, yes, yes, yes. And so I'm going to try to touch on a couple of them. The first one that
okay.
just really struck me was that you were talking about the performances in your council. And what's so great is that the students are not only, taking ownership and really doing all those things, but it's coming off of your plate, right? Like how perfect is that you're able to, I think that's definitely a win-win that there's more ownership, but yet it's a couple things that you don't have to worry about. And that's awesome. And I guess the other thing that's just really been I've been thinking about is everything you're talking about is it's small and actionable, but has a big impact
Mm,
because, you know, something like having students lead warm-ups, that doesn't take a huge amount of time or effort to do that, but yet it's making a difference for all of those students, and yeah, there's just so many great things that you were able to offer that I feel like someone who's listening could be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
I've been a singleton almost my entire career. I think there have been literally 3 years of my career that I've ever had to work with someone. So I have to find ways to make
Yeah.
sure I can get as much done.
Well, and that's
I know. I mean,
important.
yeah, it is, and everyone has their way of doing it. And I will admit that I'm not always the greatest at allowing them to do certain things because that mama bear side of me is like, oh, I'll do it for you. But then, you know, I'm like, okay, they can do this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They can do this. And I will, I've even told them, I was like, I trust you. It's just that that's just the part of me that you guys have to keep me accountable about. They're like, okay,
Mhm.
there's always going to
Yeah.
be some that will definitely keep you accountable more than you want to
Oh,
be.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's also showing that there are so many different ways to do this work, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And every teacher has to find the way that's going to work best for them and work best for their students. It's not a one size, like, this is how you give students ownership. It's not, it doesn't work like that. Everybody's going to be doing it differently. And I think that that's such an important thing for us to remember when we either start comparing ourselves to other teachers or other programs, right?
Yeah.
All of our students are different. We're all different. So we're all going to find a different way forward.
Yeah. I feel like I always talk about like my must-haves. Like if people can just decide what are the things that are just like, I'm not budging on these things. Maybe later I will, but like these are my must-haves
Yeah.
to move forward. I'm going to be willing to find some ways for kids to make decisions in other ways, but this is where I'm going to kind of hold my ground. And then as I progress, in years, I can say, all right, or a kid, a child will challenge me like, hey, can we do this? And it's like, well, why can't they do this?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for, I will tell you, one of the things that's, it's very, it's funny because I didn't always articulate this to my students. In the morning, my husband goes to work really early in the morning, and my son usually goes to school a little bit later than I have to leave. So the first people I talk to in the morning are the students.
Hmm.
And as soon as I walk in the door, they're like, and I'm like, whoa. And so they think because I'm going, I'm still processing, drinking my coffee, trying to wake up. I'm like, talking to me. And so the kids that usually come in the morning, I realized I was like, hey guys, I gotta let you know you're the first people I talk to in the morning. So I'm not trying to be mean. It's just jarring for me in the morning. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna work on that. And they're like, okay, I said I'm gonna work on that so that when you start talking to me, I'm not looking at you like you're crazy because I'm wondering why you're talking to me? And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, you guys are the first people I talk to every morning.
But how nice that you can have those conversations, right? That you've built the relationships that you can do that.
Yes. And I will say that's what I love about high school because I feel like I can talk to them. And I'm not saying you can't at middle school, but I felt more referee-like in middle
Mm.
school than I do in high school.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. But even
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
least at middle school there, I still love the silly, like you can have those kid moments.
Yes.
That was always
No, I
one of
do
my
love that.
favorite things.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I had a student teacher and he's amazing. Oh, I hate that he's not working with me anymore, but he's got to go on to be a professional.
Yeah.
But one of the things I did tell him, I was like, I love middle school, but I felt like they were emotionally, and I went, I don't think I can handle it. However, the corny side of me loves middle school.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
high school is just tall middle schoolers. That's all I think. I just think they're just tall versions of middle
Let me
school.
tell you, college kids are, yeah, even taller middle schoolers. Love them, but oh, they are goofy.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
thinking about, we talked a little bit about how you had that shift in like 2018-ish. Is there anything like significant that you can think of? Like I used to do this, but now I changed it and I do it this way. Is there anything that was kind of like a big shift that you've noticed, or is it just all of the mindset things we talked about?
I don't know if it was a big shift, but it's kind
Mhm.
of what I was saying before. I realized that my energy, it can be contagious,
Mhm.
good or bad. And
Ah,
when I come into a space, I have to, if my brain is, you guys, this, I'm sure you're the same way. It's like so many thoughts, so many thoughts. Some of it's about work, some of it's not. It's just, there's always something, you're thinking through your day. You da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I think part of again, another reason why it's so jarring in the morning is because my brain is going. And the
Mhm.
mm,
kids, and they're taking me out of that, and I'm going, wait, what are you doing? So I just, not just with teaching, but period, I've had to realize the power of my energy in the sense of I have to reflect it. What I want, I have to reflect, even if I don't get it, receive it. I just have to, I can be an energy changer. And the responsibility of being an energy changer, I think that's been a shift for me,
yeah.
um, and realization for me in the past few years or several
Yeah.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
I think that would help you be responsive to all the different kids that come your way. They need all different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
My students, we had an incident where my kids know that if in the mornings when it's my first period class is I teach it very differently than I teach any other class because it's the first thing that, they're not awake, we're waking up, we're getting together, so that's the class we do the stretches in the morning, and I tell them, I say, you're my test subject. Sometimes I'll see if this game works or whatever, blah, blah, blah. So I teach it differently. And, I might just stop and get some donuts or something or whatever. But it's a different energy because it is the first class of the day for them and they're starting their day. And, but they also know that if someone comes in and I sense that there's a problem, then that's when my student helpers really have to kick it a notch because I'll say, hey, um, Chair, I need to talk to you for just a second. Can you come here? And then I figure, are you okay? What's going on? Da, da, da. So it's important for me to get all this stuff that's going in my brain and to get my vibe and my energy right because I don't know what they've coming to. I don't know what's coming to me for where they're coming from. If the kid's having a bad day or something happened, or sometimes they just need someone to say, "Good morning. Are you
Mm.
okay?" Or to be seen. And that's really, really important as as an African American woman and a black girl in this classical space. That's really important. I've not always been seen. I'm used to being one of few, one of the only, and I can be really a wallflower. Like I'm extroverted, but I have a very strong introverted side. So sometimes I can just kind of blend in. And I see that when I see that in my students, I know that's great. There are times when you can blend in, and that's great. I want you to blend in, but also times I want to see you come off that wall, and I want you to be seen and know that I see you. We see you. So I don't think I mentioned this, but I did do this probably the last 3 years. I have kids who just COVID was just so hard. It's just so
Yeah.
hard emotionally for so many people. So when we were back in full, I had a couple of kids I would go to. I said, I just need you to make sure, can you make sure you speak to this? I gave them two kids, this kid and that kid. It doesn't have to be every day, but at least once a week, I want you to specifically say hello to them and say, how's it going? And that's it. You don't have to do anything else. If you want to get to know them more, you can. And so each class had around like 6 kids who I would have them kind of help be not emotionally responsible, but make sure that those kids were seen. And my job was to make sure the kids that I asked to do the work, that I make sure that they were seen and I would check in with them. So being aware, because that's so important that people know that you are there, whether you are loud or not, or visible or I mean, I won't say visible or outgoing is the word I'm trying to say, outgoing or not. It's important to know that people think that you're important to them and know that you matter. And so I make sure that my students know you matter to me. If you need my time, I give it. I'll give it to you. And I may not be give it to you in this one instant, but I'll say, hey, can you stay a little bit later? Or I need to talk to you, or blah, 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 because I want you to play whatever that instrument is that you play. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I need you to be healthy and I want you to leave feeling that someone knows that you are important and you matter. So that
Yeah.
my big shift is probably that's been a big shift for me in these past several years post COVID with students.
And I
It's
think the
so important. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and the impact it has on those students that feel like they need that extra, but also to the ones that you check in with to say, hey, can you check in with somebody else? Like, I feel like there's this respect that classmates have of each other of like, that my teacher, I appreciate my teachers looking after all of us. There's
Yeah.
something there that's so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's some kids who don't like that. I mean, and I get it. And I respect it. I
Sure.
respect, okay, I'll back away. Um, but I want to but at the end of the day, you know that I was concerned about you, that your teachers. And I feel like that's a very my high school is it's a high performing high school, and our rival is also a very high performing high school. But part of the difference, I think, and then nothing against the rival, we are we're way more chill in a sense of um, we want the grades, 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 but also we can step back a bit. And I like that energy
Mhm.
in my environment, in my school community. I like that energy.
Yeah, because it's about the people. It's about
Yeah.
the people in the school, not just what they achieve, but the
Yeah.
actual human beings.
Yeah.
And I remember, a speaker, I'm sure many of them talked about it, but like how many kids can go through an entire day at school and never hear anybody say their name?
Mhm.
Wow.
And
That's
when you hear those kind of things, it's like, oh my gosh. So it makes you want to make a point to say hello and, say their name and just acknowledge them. And if you can have other, peers doing that as well, that's huge. It makes such a difference.
I've never thought about it for how hearing people say your name. Wow.
Hmm. Now,
That's powerful.
sometimes people like teachers, we might hear our name too much, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
But so for
Yeah.
the kids, how can we do that for them?
Yeah. Kathryn, what level do you teach?
I'm K-5 general music.
Oh my
So I
God.
had the littles.
Okay. Bless you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Bless you.
She has got one of the most important jobs.
Oh, I think in my first 3 years of teaching, I had to go to this elementary school and it was a general music class, but I think they were kindergarten or second grade. I don't, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, one of the younger years. And we were doing just playing for them. The teachers were saying, this is how you clap. I want you to sit like this. They were the basics. And I went, oh my gosh. It was so powerful for me because I went,
Yeah.
somebody has to teach people how to clap. Someone has to teach you how to do this. And I mean, they were amazing, but I thought, whoa, I don't think I could ever do that. So bless you. Bless you.
Yeah.
That's
She's
awesome.
good at it. She is very good at it with those littles.
I love them. Well, one thing that we do in our book, Pass the Baton, is there's like a things to try tomorrow section.
Mhm.
And I think it people really like that because it's like there's these, you can talk about this bigger shift or mindset, but like what's one little thing I can try tomorrow? So what advice would you give somebody if they're thinking about things that we've been talking about?
Um, it's not a thing to do in your class, but it's for you. We go, 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 go. We do, 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 do. Set aside or create a end time to your day. Your day has to work wise. It has to end at some point. I'm still working on it. I used to be much better with it. I'm not as great now, but it's very important. Like some people, they talk the 9 to 5. Teaching has never been a 9 to 5. It's a August to May. So, and then probably July to May, to be honest. But take the time every day to end, to not work. Like have a cutoff time for you and make sure everything is not always about the job or work. You were a person before you worked. You will retire from this job at some point,
Yeah.
and you will be a person still. So you have to still nurture that other side of you. And that's really important to stay sane and to stay grounded and to find the goodness in what's happening and not and your stress levels. My gosh, and your health and your
Mhm.
stress levels too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think those things have an end time for work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so important because if we don't take care of ourselves, there's no way we can do this job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it. I mean, it's a work in progress for me.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
Oh,
work in
yeah.
progress, but I
Yeah.
do believe in it. I do believe in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so important. This has been wonderful just hearing about, how your classroom works and how you've been thinking through these different things and how you're meeting the needs of so many different students. I love it. If listeners wanted to learn more about you and your work, is there a way that they can connect?
I guess they can email me. My email is CorieBentonAsta@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes and they can find you
Okay.
through ASTA. That's
All
wonderful.
right. Thank you
Okay, so
guys.
thank
Thank
you. This was
you.
great. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and we appreciate
I
your
will.
time.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate it. And best to you guys. Best to you moving this big move.
Yeah.
Get a fan. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
right.
And thank you guys so much for allowing me to just talk to you,
Yeah.
and spend some time with you. And I'll see you guys maybe at Midwest. Maybe.
Maybe Midwest. We'll see how
Maybe
that,
Midwest.
yeah.
Okay, one of my feeder schools is going to be performing, so I'm excited.
Oh,
So I'm
wonderful.
excited to see that. And if not, hopefully maybe even ASTA. So
Thanks for joining us. If you have found value in our conversation, please hit that like button, subscribe to our podcast, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us grow our community of passionate music educators.